Second. Hey, Chuck, thanks a bunch for doing this interview with the Accessible Home Summit of Experts. Folks, I want you to meet Chuck Vollmer. And Chuck is the owner of 101Mobiity in Sarasota. He's a certified aging in place specialist and a certified environmental access consultant. Chuck, thanks again. Nice to see you.
You're welcome. It's great to see you again, even if it's by Zoom.
It's all good, man. I tell you, those days are kind of over where we're going to get together, I guess.
Well,
All right. So a little bit about 101Mobiity. It's a full service sales, installation, and repair business. And it's a provider of a complete line of mobility solutions. Chuck has extensive experience in the medical device industry, skills in sales, entrepreneurship, sales management, team building, and public speaking. You're going to love what he brings to the table. So Chuck, as you know, the object of these interviews is to bring to light the huge need of many with physical challenges. And because of your enormous areas of expertise, I really can't think of anybody better that will enlighten us and teach us all kinds of information. Man, I tell you, it's taken you a little bit of time to understand and implement, but you are the best of the best. So what do you say? You ready to get the show on the road?
ready to go.
All right.
Fire away.
I like it. So tell me something about why. Why are you so passionate about working with those with the mobility challenges that you've done for years?
Well, I'll tell you, it's very personal. It got very personal, and then it expanded into a business. It got personal because I was caregiving for my 85-year-old then father-in-law, who was a 100% disabled World War II veteran, and he needed just about everything from an equipment need that we could get provided for him in order for him to stay in his home, so that he didn't have to go to a nursing home. Over that 10 years up to his death, when he was 95 years old, we provided him equipment of every form and worked with the VA in order to understand how that worked as it interacts with an individual veteran. During that period of time, I got so interested in it that it led me into pursuing a business, perhaps, because I was certain that I wasn't aware of anything in my market that was a complete access and mobility company that could help people to the extent that I think they need help. And I was dealing with a disabled veteran, but there are substantial numbers of senior citizens, elderly, that need access and mobility equipment, as well as disabled individuals that unfortunately reach down to the children that have needs that we have to address. And that then got very personal when I started dealing with children through charitable work with organizations in town like Easter Seals, Centers for Independent Living and such that needed some help. And I got deeply involved, indeed got on the boards of directors and got deeply involved. All of this led to finally finalizing a business opportunity about 8 years ago and opening up 101Mobiity in Sarasota that serves our market now from Pinellas County to Collier County.
Yeah, my next question was how did 101Mobiity come into being? So it came into being, and how did you first start to get business? What happened?
Well, I started in the business by going to a manufacturer of access products here in Sarasota. And I was going to open a big superstore where you could demonstrate every conceivable product in the access mobility business. And the name of that company was Harmar, which is still located in Sarasota, their national headquarters. But they went through some transitions and some capital infusions that changed ownership, and that got kind of left on the boards. They directed me to a group in Wilmington, North Carolina that was formulating the company of 101Mobiity. They had actually opened in 2007 in Wilmington, North Carolina through an acquisition of a ramp manufacturing company there. But they needed capital. My past life was in the financial services business. I was aware of some people that might be able to help them. I connected the dots, raised the capital in order for them to expand from a company-owned small business into a franchise business. And so from 2010, where they started opening some franchise stores, and when I got involved in 2013, they've grown from 13 stores to 80. We're now in 40 states, and we're the largest company in the United States doing what we do. So what goes around comes around. My own financial services business helped me get into the access and mobility business, which I was passionate about anyway. So that's how we kind of got started. Now, how about business? Obviously, there's the obvious manners, which is internet. There's no question that you have to be well positioned on the internet. We have a strong Google pay-per-click campaign. We have a strong social media marketing campaign. We get most of our leads through the internet at the start, as well as in the beginning. In the first few years of our business, I was out everywhere you could possibly be in a 5 or 6 county area, speaking to everybody I can about anything I could, and as often as they allowed me. And so I continued to just do that for years. But as the business grows, your time shrinks. And we made sure we kind of leveraged opportunities. We prioritized better. We continued our Google campaigns to where now our organic placement is very high. And so, majority of our leads are now free, but we still pay-per-click and we still do social media advertising. And of course, over 8 years now since I opened this business in 2013, we have a substantial number of clients, and I dare say happy clients. Our reviews are great, we're strong, and because of that, we get referrals. And so we don't have to find every lead anymore. Leads find us. They come from people that are happy with what's been done, and it grows in that vein. Now, we're always interested in changes. There's plans to do some other stuff, but by and large, it was grinded out at the beginning using everything you can think of and get in front of as many people as you can to pitch your company and what you do. And as I said, our company's unusual in that we not only sell, we install, we repair, we do warranty work, we do it all. And when I say we, I mean it's done by my employees. We don't outsource anything except construction, which Mike, you know something about because you're part of that chain. And we're not licensed contractors, but in our business, we do every conceivable product, and we do it with my men and women, and we do it in a manner that we're proud of. So that's how we grew the business. And so now we get a great deal of many referrals as well as organic leads through internet. And now we've grown to a point where our manufacturers of equipment, which are the creme de la creme of the industry, now have created lead generation programs, and we get leads from, several of the major manufacturers in the business because they know we're certified. All of our technicians are certified. We have to recertify every 2 years. And so we're qualified, and they know that. So they give us the leads in the market. So if somebody was to call Bruno for a stair lift, we'll probably get that lead if it's in our market, and then we'll contact the customer and go and do what we do, a free home assessment, make sure that what they're talking to us about is actually what is needed, and then we provide them all the information they need from that point forward. So we've grown that list of manufacturers, which are referral sources. We've grown the referral side from past customers, and we still do the digital marketing that's mandated today.
All right, so I can tell you, having worked with you now for a few years, that it's never a problem. You've got a guy named Israel that works with you.
Yeah.
that is just aces, and Israel is actually a part of this summit. Which
Well, that's
is great.
good.
Yeah. I mean,
Israel has a vast amount of knowledge, especially in the areas that this old man has never want to get involved in, which is the installation side of this equipment. He can do everything from working on automobiles to install lifts for scooters. He can even put in hand controls, turning seats inside automobiles, to every aspect of accessibility, from ramps to stair lifts to vertical platform, wheelchair lifts to pool lifts, etc. He does it all. And he's about as good as they get. He's currently about to undertake the studies and the tests to get his elevator certification as a licensed certified elevator tech, because we've begun installing residential elevators, and we don't want to outsource any aspect of that. So we're going to get him registered.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's change gears just a tad. And I know one of your heartfelt scenarios is aging in place. Give me an idea of why aging in place is so important.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. It starts with the lack of interest of the big home builders, commonly called the box builders. They get a set of plans, they'll never change it until God knows when. They really don't think about accessibility when they build. I know you do, Mike. I know when you were building homes, it was ever present on your mind. We talked about it many times, and I've seen plans of homes you've designed. But that isn't the case with the majority of what's going on in the building world. Their belief is, when people ask for it, we'll do it, rather than be proactive and say, we know they're going to need it, so let's do it now. That's not how they think, these big guys. If you're dealing with a single family home builder that builds custom homes one at a time, you can pretty much design it any way you want. He'll probably put an elevator in it. But not these guys, not the big box guys, not the guys building 500 to 1,000 home subdivisions that are going up everywhere. Their plans are their plans, and they don't think enough people care to ask. The other misconception is, well, they're all one-story homes, so what's the problem? Well, we don't see many one-story homes that don't have an access problem. We build the elevation down here because of flooding. Almost everybody, especially west of 75, is in a flood zone. You can't find many garages that don't have 2 or 3 steps. You can't find a back porch that doesn't step down. And in my life, I've learned that one step can be a mountain to a lot of people. So they're not designing away easy solutions in the building stage. The second problem is, as land use shrinks, we're building vertical again. And so the 2-story home is becoming more commonplace again, because the lot size is shrinking to 6,000 square feet. And in order to get lot coverage and some square footage, you got to build vertically. And when they build vertically, they like to build strictly to code. So what I'm seeing is a lot of 36-inch wide staircases that are pretty steep going up to that second level, with no plan to allow for a future elevator, because they didn't allow the space, whether it's a little bit expanded closets that might be stacked and necessary to accommodate that. They simply squeeze every square foot out because they're selling off so much of foot. And so that leaves us with tough solutions going forward as that turns into an accessibility or mobility issue. Things get tighter, things get tougher. And that's not just true of single family, it's true of multifamily. You build a lot of 55 and over communities and condo communities, and yet, even knowing they're 55 and over, you see exterior staircases that are too wide to put stair lifts on. You see all kinds of issues of access that we have to deal with every day. So it's a combination of the builders, the big box guys not caring, the type of houses that are starting to be built, and the lack of recognition. Their theory again is, people, it goes from the top down. If people want them, we'll do them. But if they don't ask, we're not changing our plan.
What would you do in terms of what type of modifications would you want to install on a home, on a let's say, ounce of preparation scenario?
Well, if you were building one,
Yep.
I mean, you'd want to say, in the beginning, a graded entrance. If it's a one-story home, I don't know why you can't build it so that you don't have steps. Really, you can have a graded entrance, almost a built-in ramp that goes up. You can ramp away a step fairly easily in the building stage.
We did that, Chuck. We did that 6 times. We got
Right.
it engineered for the entry, engineered for the garage.
Right.
No problem.
Right. Same thing with the garage, getting up. And if it's impossible to do, you could at least let enough room in there so that we could put something there if necessary later in order to elevate a wheelchair into the house, even through the garage. And that allows some room. And I understand that might make the garage a little bit, and I get it. I do get it. But, there has to be a landing platform, and there has to be some way of getting people in a wheelchair into the house. And so the front door is the easiest. The garage is next. Do something so that it's not terrible if you're putting a pool in the back of the house, that you don't have to step down 3 steps to get to the level of the pool. The other thing is there's some simple things that need to be done. Lighting. I can't stress enough the importance of lighting. As we age, we don't see as well. And indeed, we're inclined to want less light. I don't know if you noticed, but as you get older, you shut the lights off. I think the old school was, I don't want to pay for the electricity. But whatever the reason, it's dark. Well, we can't have dark, and that includes at the front door. At the front door, you got to have something you could lay things on while you open your door. You got to have good lighting so you can see to the door so you don't trip. It's the little things. When you get inside the house, you got to have hallways that are wide enough in order for a wheelchair to go through. You have to have a bathroom that you could get into in a wheelchair. Again, you need great lighting. Perhaps you could think about your color choices more. As we age, I don't know about you, but if you put white letters on yellow, I can't read it very well. Okay, you got to be sensible about contrast, because people live by contrast. They can see a step if it's a contrast, but they sure don't if it's all the same color. They're going to walk on down that step and they're going to fall. And fall prevention is the game here. So those are the little things. In the kitchen, have enough width to navigate a wheelchair if it ever came to that. Be concerned with how the drawers pull out. Be concerned with your stove, that you don't have controls in the back of the stove, so you got to reach over them and burn yourself trying to turn it on. Let's put those controls on the front as an example. All kinds of water features and faucets and things now have scalding prevention. Let's think about those things. Because when you're doing these things in the building stage, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, Mike, they are not very expensive to do when you're building the house. They get pretty darn expensive later.
That's really amazing to me, because when we built the barrier-free homes, we put in 36-inch doors, right?
Yeah.
Which everywhere, which cost me $4 more per door to do. Are you kidding me? Right?
No,
And
this is what I'm saying. Now, I understand you can pay a lot for a door if you get specialty. Right. You get custom. You don't need custom. A 36-inch door versus a 32-inch door is day and night, versus a 30-inch wide door, unbelievable, versus a 28-inch door, which we still see some of.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous, especially since you need 27 inches with your hands on the wheels to get a wheelchair through. So you're going to be bruising. You're going to be bruising your knuckles on some of these.
Well, you and I have gone into these homes for the accessible bid that you're talking about and the assessment, and we're seeing beat up wood on both sides of the doorway. It just ruins the doors. And I can't. One of the interesting things that when we sold one of the barrier-free homes, a person said, "Geez, I can move my furniture in." This person was not in any way disabled, right. But boy, it's really easy to move my furniture into. It is. It changes everything.
Yeah, it's amazing what a 42-inch hallway is versus a 36. Even.
Oh my God.
It's amazing. Look, as long as people want to build strictly the code, we're going to have access problems. People have to expand their thought process a little bit. And from our perspective, you and me and others that are joining us in this endeavor, we have to press people, customers, people we know to send a message to these builders that they're insisting that these things become normal, not things they have to remember to ask for. We have to change that philosophy to where it's coming. The builder already knows they have to. And then you talk to these builders, say, well, we do some of these things. Yeah, well, I'm in these homes every darn day and I'm telling you they're not doing them. So
Yeah.
you can lie to whoever you want, but you can't lie to me. I'm gonna catch you and I'm gonna, talk to you. But the fact of the matter is, we gotta educate, because these people only understand things from the buyer's perspective. If they don't have to change a plan, great. I'll give you a classic example is, and I'll name names. The builders changed, they got bought out, but Sarasota National is on 41 south of Venice. Huge project, got some single family homes, but got a lot of clustered homes, 2-story, some villas, but they also have a bunch of buildings that have 2 units, one on the first floor, one on the second unit. They're not 2-story units. They have a living unit on the first floor and a living unit on the second floor. They've called us 8 times to try to figure out now what to do, because nobody will buy the second floor units because of the staircases. Now, you'd have thought they'd have thought of that, but because the floors are concrete, the form of concrete, or you can't go through the floors anymore because you crack structurally the entire floor. You can't put an elevator in, they'll have no room for that. And a stair lift could work on the stairs, but it doesn't help you if you're in a wheelchair and you can't transfer. They have no choices. You would think they'd learn from that. But what did they do instead? They built the same units in Lakewood Ranch up here in Sarasota, and they got the same problem because they won't change their plan. They're so insistent that they're building what they think is right, and they're building these kind of units in average age communities where you should know better. Venice, my goodness, Venice has an average age that's 10 or 15 years older than Sarasota. Sarasota is not young on average age, and yet they build units that are not accessible and they can't figure out why they can't sell them. What do? They compound the problem by building more. That's it. Don't ask them to change. Whether it's Lennar and WCI, and yeah, they're all involved and complicit in that.
All right. Yeah, that's a tough one. All right, talk to me a little bit about VA, Medicaid, workman's comp. Talk to me about all those things that you are getting leads for and what you have to perform.
Yeah, well, it really gets into, I think, who pays for this stuff and who doesn't. Because the majority of what we do in my business is private pay, predominantly because Medicare, which is the largest provider of health to the senior community, doesn't pay for literally anything we do. They're very willing to pay the hospital a substantial amount of money when you fall down the stairs and break your hip, but they won't pay a small amount of money to put a stair lift on that prevents you from falling down the stairs. Kind of an interesting concept. But everybody that knows our medical world understands it's screwed up. So who does pay? Well, the VA is one of those entities that does pay for all this stuff. Now, you have to qualify. Obviously, it's based on the extent of a disability. And obviously, if you were 100% disabled, veteran, war-related, they're going to pay for everything. But they have degrees of disability and degrees of coverage. But the VA, if a person is a veteran and is disabled, and if that disability is at all linked to service, they need to go through the process of their local VA. In my market, that's Bay Pines out of St. Pete. There's a clinic down in your part of the world, Mike, down there. But Bay Pines in St. Petersburg, and then Tampa, the Tampa VA are the two we deal with. They cover the entire market I cover. So if someone, now it takes a while to go through the process, but when you're in, you do get benefits. It's just not quick. So I strongly would suggest that anybody that's a veteran, a disabled veteran, especially disabled war-related injury, start that process so they can get in the system. There's other benefits they can get too. They can get benefits all the way down to money for handicap vans. They can get money under a couple of programs the VA has for modifications of the home mic. As you know, they have a smaller program that would probably at least cover enough to do a bathroom, walk-in shower. They have a bigger program that's tens of thousands more than that, 50, 60,000 bucks that goes toward home mods. A lot of people don't know about them, and a lot of people, there's a lot of money there that's going unused. So they have programs. So the VA obviously is something that people should know about and work. I said Medicare doesn't do much to help us. Medicaid does pay for this stuff under their waiver program and through their long-term Medicaid insurance programs. But you have to get yourself into a position to have nothing before you qualify for Medicaid. And that's a process on its own. And then you got to go through it. Mike, you and I have done those assessments. We've seen the need. But the fact of the matter is nothing goes quickly through a government agency. But Medicaid would pay. Workman's comp, if someone's injured on the job and it falls into that camp, there's usually a third-party administrator representing insurance companies that will put together the needs and they'll put stuff out. We get requests for bids from those individuals, and it's our normal pattern of what we do: home assessment, quote, blah, blah, blah. But under a workman's comp case, the insurance company would pay for all of this. There are some long-term care policies that have language. There's not many, but there are some that have a stipend for equipment if needed. So I would recommend strongly that everybody that has a long-term care policy at least read it, because most people only understand how much a day they get to pay for a nursing home. They don't read the entire contract. Who has? I mean, I've had 1,000 types of insurance contracts on cars and houses and businesses come through here, and I'd like to tell you I read every word, but I didn't. And you got to be aware of that. But other than that, it's private pay. Now, if you had a car accident and an insurance company had a casualty claim and you were hurt in an accident and mandated, that would be an insurance claim, non-workman's comp, but it would be covered. But the bulk, and I mean the vast majority of stuff is private pay, and that's how you get them. Now, from a lead perspective, that's dealing with the workman's comp business, which in our case, we deal with third-party administrators, not the insurance people. It's almost impossible to deal with major insurance companies, but they hire out groups, and there's a handful here in Florida that act in that capacity, including one of the biggest in the United States here in Sarasota, FCCI, and so you got to market a little bit to the third-party administrator and hope they remember your number. You got to stay on top of the purchasing agents at the VAs, or they'll forget your number. And the Medicaid waiver is done through case managers that are independent contractors and hired out by Medicare. They're located all over the state. You find them in your market, and you at least try to make contact with them. You may establish a relationship with 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's plenty, and they'll remember you if you're expedient in your work. If you get leads from these people, the expectation is you are going to begin the process quickly, and they will hound you with emails. Have you made contact? Have you made contact? Do you have an appointment set up? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Then, of course, when you get it all done, everything slows down. But that's the name of the game. So we act very, very quickly when we get a lead, whether that's, as I said, from a vendor, a manufacturer. That call is made immediately. An appointment is going to be set to suit the customer's schedule as well as ours. And then we're going to go into action. Same thing with workman's comp, same thing with VA. The VA, A lot of time with the VA, they'll come in with a specific request for a quote, and we'll go do the assessment, and we'll come back and write a report to them that is absolutely completely different. Because remember, they have no eyes on the ground. All they hear is what the veteran's telling them. And I'd like to say that's 100% truthful, but it's not. But at the same time, they're way off on the product solution. So these assessments become very important, very important. So the leads, yeah, if they learn to trust you, learn to like you, know you get on it, know you do the job, you get them their report. And Mike working with you, you know how quick we get on them, and Mike's great at getting back bids, and they love that. Now, as I said, everything slows down. They're in a hurry until they get what they need, and then everything seems to slow down because now they're in the, oh my God, I got to pay for it stage. So we have to go down through this process, but that's how it works.
Chuck, I got to ask you, where or how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to contact you?
See my first initial, Vollmer, Vollmer, at 101Mobiity.com. The number 101Mobiity.com. My cell phone is 941-809-3848. I do return phone calls. I may not take it right away, but I'll return them. Unless it's Mike, and then I make him wait 3 days so he thinks I'm busy.
You know, it's okay. I'm last on the totem pole. It's all good. Well, I got to tell the folks.
I want to mention one thing real quick. You asked me earlier about why is this whole thing important, and let me do this rather quickly, but I think it's important. Aging in place is the way 90% of seniors want to live. Not 9%, 90. The theory of dying at home is what they want. They don't want to go to some other place. The other 10, 12%, it might be 88%, 90%, they'll consider assisted living or independent living facilities because it's not home, but it's not a nursing home. Okay, that's the reality in numbers. Now, people have to understand that the cost involved. An assisted living facility is somewhere between $4,000 or $5,000, could be $6,000 a month, depending on the facility that you go to. A nursing home is $10,000 to $12,000. I guarantee you, because I have a mother-in-law now, 96, that we had to go that direction. It's $10,000 to $12,000 a month. A month. Now, you know, they claim that when an individual gets a nursing home, they live an average about 3 years. If you're in a nursing home at 12 grand, a month, 144,000 a year, and you're in there for 3 years, you pay $420,000 that you don't have, probably, unless you can qualify for Medicaid, which means you had nothing, which is where you're going to end up by the time they bleed you dry. So what's it cost to modify the house, to stay in the house? Even if you had to look at some help, perhaps. Well, I can tell you, if you put $100,000 into your house and you amortized it over 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, it's a lot less than $10,000, $12,000 a month. It's a lot less than $4,000 to $6,000 a month in assisted living. And this is what people don't understand. There is an absolute mathematical calculation that says it is better to modify your home and stay there. Plus, how do you put the price tag on the emotional aspect of staying at home versus going to a nursing home, going someplace else? You can't put a dollar value on it. Now, I know there are times, because I just reached it with my mother-in-law, where we had to go to a nursing home. And that's because she always needs 2 persons assist. She always needs Hoyer lift to get to the bathroom. I get that. Okay, in her best interest and safety, we ran out of ways to help. But she made it to 96. Okay, and there's times when you fold them, and times when you fold them, and we had to fold it. But in the interim, in the last 10 years, 15 years, we did everything to modify the car, the house, and everything we could. So we kept Dad in there and we kept Mom in there. And they were happier from it. So I want everybody to understand the costs associated with the alternative to modifying your home to age in place. And while it might not last forever, and it may not be for everybody, mathematically, it's hard to address spending someone's all of their assets down to $2,000 to qualify to Medicaid, paying that money to a nursing home. And I'd like to tell you the care is great. It's not. They got low wage employees handling your parents. The turnover is unbelievable. But they have equipment, they have help, and they have it 24/7. So you know, there's pros and cons, but math doesn't lie. It's one of the consistent things in life. You know, you can face it or not, but the reality of it is you need to contemplate the costs. And you could get a home equity loan. You know, a lot of people don't even owe money on their homes. They've owned them so long. Certainly they have equity, especially in the real estate market we have. A home equity loan is a fairly low interest loan. You could borrow enough money to completely modify your home to stay in it, maybe even take some money out to help you with care. You know, and the equity in a home will take care of it when death occurs. And if the argument is, well, my kids don't like that, tell them to stop worrying about their inheritance and stop taking care of their parents.
That's the truth.
And
Oh God, that's so true.
that's what you run into.
Yeah.
Okay, you're spending my money. No, she's spending her money. But in any case, I think those are the tough decisions. Those are the tough conversations. I'm very willing to have those conversations with anybody because I've lived it. And until you walk in those shoes, you don't understand it. But the facts are the facts. Mike, as you know, you could do a lot with 50 grand in a lot of houses to make them livable. And, you know, if you spread that over 5 years, 10 grand a year, $900 a month, $800 a month, it's a hell of a far cry from 10 or 12,000 a month. So
Sure
let's get real with the reality. And I wanted to make that point because it's really important.
That's a great point, Chuck. It's a great point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, I really appreciate this. I want people to understand that you can get what's called an all access pass, which will give you lifetime access to Chuck's interview. It will give you complete access to what he has to offer. He's going to have his own page within this summit. And that page is accessible to you. He'll have all of his documentation and methods to contact him will be inside of that. And it's just to have what Chuck just said on a lifetime basis. You're going to have an audio, a PDF version of it. You're going to love it. Anyways, Chuck, it's been a real pleasure to do this with you. Your passion and advocacy for the many, it just touches me, and I know it's touched a lot of people. And thank you. I'm wishing you all the best.
Glad to be in a business that you feel good about when you go home every day.
Yes, sir. I totally agree with that. Thanks, bud. We'll be chatting.
Love you, Mike. Thanks.
All right,
I hope to get to you. Have lunch soon. Appreciate
Sounds
it,
good.
buddy.
I'm with you. Bye, Chuck.
Bye.